He is a 7-time Bassmaster Angler of the Year, a 4-time Bassmaster Classic Champion, a 25-time Bassmaster winner, a 4-time MLF winner, an FLW Angler of the Year. All that together makes him the winningest pro in the history of professional bass fishing. KVD joins me this week on...
I'm Bob Cobb from the Bassmaster. Welcome to Mercer.
Welcome one, welcome all, friends, family, freeloaders, fishing freaks, and of course my humpers. Happy hump day, and welcome into the Awkwardly Honest Fishing Podcast that goes by my last name, which is Mercer. This is the 193rd edition of the Mercer Podcast, and Happy New Year to all of you. I hope wherever you're watching or listening throughout the world, that life is treating you well. Happy New Year. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas. We had a wonderful Christmas. If you can't tell yet, I'm a little under the weather. But we had a wonderful Christmas. Probably one of the best Christmases. I mean, it was just a great Christmas. Just a lot of time with the family. It went past way too quick, but it was just a really wonderful Christmas. And then the day after Christmas, we have a big soiree at our house. We always have a big open house. In Canada, they call that Boxing Day. Not a thing in America, just the day after Christmas in America. I did a little research because I've always wondered why is it called Boxing Day. Well, it's got to do with Canada's English influence. I guess back in the day, the lords and ladies, you know, the higher-ups in the world, the dignitaries, well, they would get a lot of gifts at Christmas. So then they would take the old stuff that they didn't need anymore, they'd put it in a box, and they would give it to the lesser-thans, their maids and housekeepers and butlers and such. So basically what it is it's a nice name for National Regifting Day. Nobody does that, but that's where it got its name. But on that day, the day after Christmas, we always have a big open house at our house and have a lot of friends and family show up at that. And it was so great to see everyone there. It was just a great Christmas. Couldn't ask for anything more. I just slow it down a little bit, maybe. So I hope you guys had a great Christmas. And then about 2 days after that, we got hit with the Christmas crud. That's right, the Christmas crud. We all got sick and spent the rest of the holidays on the couch watching, well, every Jurassic Park movie ever made and who knows what else. I mean, it was just mounds of Kleenexes and movies. That's how we spent it. But again, I got to spend it with my family. So I was so thankful. Like, what a great time to be sick. I mean, you don't want to be sick at Christmas, but I mean, when we're all sick together, at least we're in misery together, and I'm thankful for it. But it's a cool time of year, a great time of year. New year, new you. Oh, wait a second. We can't move on to next year without finishing things off for this year. We had the big Humpers prize. That's right. Look at it in this box right here. You got this Plano Edge box jammed full of BKK hooks, Berkeley baits. You got a pair of Costa sunglasses, an AFCO microfiber towel, just all sorts of stuff. A mega pack. And all you had to do was comment on the last podcast and put Humpers in your comment. And our winner for that, drum roll please, is Jerry Drazer 1328. Jerry Drazer 1328, you are the winner of the Humper Mega Pack. And the reason I'm smiling when I say that is Jerry is an active commenter. So cool to see a hardcore humper like him win. It's cool to see all of you guys win. And we got lots more coming. Next week, we get to unroll. We got a bunch of new sponsors of the show. And guess what? We'll be doing more prizes. So don't go anywhere. no matter how odd I may look. Because that being said, I mean, you do notice this hat. My wife said to put it on. She said, put a festive, we all spent New Year's just with Kleenexes and sitting on the couch. And we did put on some New Year's hats. She said, put on the New Year's hat. It'll make you look more festive. If you ask me, looking at it right now, I just look like a really disheveled, out-of-work pimp when pimping goes bad. But hey, Happy New Year. But it is a wonderful time of year. New year, new you. That's my question for you guys this week. Let me know in the comments. Everybody, I need to hear from you. Are you doing New Year's resolutions? If so, what are they? Or do you not do New Year's resolutions? Simple, easy. Let us know in the comments. This is such a cool community. And it's cool. I continuously hear that. I mean, Byron Velvick and me talked over the holidays, just before the holidays, and he's like, man, the great feedback that I get from the community that built around this podcast, it's just what you guys have done is really, really cool. And I thank you for that. Because in a time when people just want to pull things down, this podcast has been nothing but positive. You guys are a great community, and I thank you for that. And I don't know where I was going. I don't know if you can tell this, but this segment is fueled by Neil Citron. Right now, my brain is a little foggy, but it is a great time of year. One of the coolest things about this time of year is all the new fishing shows come out. And I should be much better at this. I am not. I should promote my own television show on this podcast more, but I don't. But I'm about to do that right now because the brand new season of Facts of Fishing launches this week, the 18th season. And obviously, we're on Outdoor Channel in the U.S. We're on SportsNet 360 in Canada. A bunch of airtimes throughout the week on Outdoor Channel. Our anchor airtime on Outdoor Channel is Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We are on Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time on SportsNet 360 in Canada. I'll post all the times down below, but please check it out. Why? Well, because I'm really excited about this season of Facts of Fishing. It really has been, since probably the first few years when we launched the show, that I've been this excited about a season. After you've done a show for 18 years, it gets kind of routine. Well, we kind of blew that up and tried to do something totally different this year. Our team that puts it together, we're calling it Outdoor Immersion, but we spent a lot of time, you guys know I spend a lot of time swimming with the fishes and shooting a lot of unique, different footage that is outside of just hook sets and holding up fish. And you guys know there's so many reasons you fish outside of that. And we're trying to help you feel a little bit more like you're in the outdoors. And I just love the result of this year's show. Please check it out this week. I'd love to hear your feedback on it. Again, the airtimes will be down below. But this is also my favorite time of year as a fan of fishing shows, not just as a producer of fishing shows, because a lot of my favorites come out. I mean, the new season of Zona's Awesome Fishing Show is out on Outdoor Channel. Make sure to check that out. And then there is this week's guest, who just happens to be coming out with what may be one of the most eagerly anticipated outdoor shows in decades. Kevin VanDam, the winningest pro in professional bass fishing. I mean, he's won everything there is, stepped away from competition last year, and been on this show a bunch. I mean, you guys know he's my buddy, and he'll be on this show a bunch in the future. But he said when he stepped away, to be clear, I am not retiring from the sport of fishing. I'm retiring from competition, but I am going to be very active in this sport. And he has taken all of the energy that he put into competition and putting it into his TV show, the VanDam Experience. And I have not seen it yet, but I am very excited to see it. Because, I mean, it's just going to be such a unique look inside a mind of, I mean, he is truly the most accomplished pro in the history of sports. In the history of the sport, not of all sports. I mean, I don't think he's great at hockey or soccer or anything like that. But he is the most... You got to give me a pass in some of this stuff today, folks. I mean, my brain's not functioning at all. I'll get back to work. Sorry. Like I said, he is the most accomplished pro in the history of professional tournaments, but he's always had to keep things back, I would imagine. There's only so much you can show. I mean, you want to show some, but you want to keep it back so you still have that advantage. Well, we're going to get to learn it all. We're going to get inside the mind of the master. And what a great way for us to start this season of Facts of Fishing. Or no, this is the Mercer podcast. I am so confused today. I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm sweating from just sitting here. When KVD calls you up and says, hey, let's kick off the season with a KVD podcast and talk about the new show, you say yes. And here's one thing you will realize through this show. That dude gets a lot of emails. Listen to the amount of times that this ding dong, and this was shot during the holidays. But without further ado, one and only Kevin VanDam. KVD, what a way to start the season. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, brother. Man, it's gone by. I mean, this fall has gone so fast. Christmas, crazy, man. But I'm excited. This warm weather that we've been having, it's got me thinking about fishing. I've got a new boat that's just going to be here just around the corner. But I got one in the garage, too. I'm no dummy, But, yeah.
You're prepared. You're ready.
I'm ready. It's different for me this year. But, it's been so busy getting everything ready for the new show and the new season and things like that. And then the holidays and family. But, gosh, once New Year's is over, I refocus. I'm always re-energized, and it's a different feeling this year, man. I'm fired up.
Obviously, it's very different, but do you still feel that same? I mean, one of the things that is very well documented about you could spend 3 minutes with you, and you realize you are an A personality. You are driven and goal orientated, and always have been your whole career. Have you carried that same fire from tournament fishing over to producing the show, or has this allowed you to relax a little more?
My wife would say no. I'm pretty much, it's all, we've been doing it all ourselves, and it's a new experience, and there's a big learning curve to it. I mean, I've done television shows my whole career for Bass Pro and Strike King and stuff like that, but producing your own show, doing it all on your own, getting all the details that you have to do. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but there's a lot more to it than what meets the eye for sure. And it's a challenge, but it's a fun, and it's kind of, for me, it's really kind of filled that void from tournaments, from fishing tournaments and things like that. And I'm just going to be relieved when, the show starts airing. It's airing in a few weeks, and people get to see it. I'm really excited to see what the reaction is going to be. I had a lot of fun doing it. I got some great guests. We got some great shows, and I think bass fishing fans will really enjoy it, because I've had fun doing it, and I love all the aspects of it. But there's nothing more gratifying to me than when you get those messages or comments back where it's like, man, really love the show. It really helped me. I went out and, I learned from you. And because at the end of the day, watching somebody catch fish is, it's fun, but it's just anybody can watch somebody catch fish. I think people, they want to learn. And I like to, showcase the way that I do things, my style, my thought. You fish very different than me. And Zona, when we get together, it's night and day. He's a jigger, he likes to drag stuff around. I'm a jerker, winder, cranker, spinner, buzzer, and it's interesting because you can usually make any style or, multiple patterns or things work, but on any given day, one may outshine the other. And so, getting to do that and experience that is a lot of fun. And I think, it gets people out of their comfort zone a little bit. And again, I love those comments. It's nothing better than hearing from somebody saying, man, went out and I caught the biggest fish of my life, or, my son caught his first bass, or, I took my dad out and we had an unbelievable day, and that's why I do it. I've always in the past kept things hidden, keep secrets, because you don't want to show anything. Arguably the hardest thing for me was when Bassmaster started doing live bass, broadcasting live. I was there on the set at the Bassmasters Classic at Lake Hartwell the first morning when, Mike McInnes and his dream came to reality. And that was the only classic that I didn't fish in my career. Like, I didn't qualify that year. It's the only one I never qualified for. And I was there in the show hall, kicking off the morning, watching it live. And I knew right then that it would change the world, the bass fishing world, for sure. It's amazing. I mean, there's no hiding anything anymore. You can watch how Greg Hackney makes a roll cast, or, how, Aaron Martins would shake a drop shot, I mean, just how you watch how people turn the handle, and all the little things that you couldn't see before from the television broadcast, or you just didn't catch, all are right there in plain view, and with the camera in every boat and all that. So it definitely has changed the world. Now, everything's live stream. I mean, they're live streaming high school and college and opens, and it's overwhelming how much live bass fishing is out there. But as a fan of the sport, it's really, really good to see. So yeah, ours isn't live, but I do know what I think are the key things, and we really try to highlight that in a lot of our shows. And my show is diverse.
Why, outside of loving to watch Kevin VanDam, which we all do, why would they want to watch the VanDam Experience? What is it?
Well,
sell it to me.
So. I mean, the thing for me is I'm not, I don't have the personality of, like a Jimmy Houston or a Hank Parker or a Dave Mercer or a Mark Zona. I mean, I'm just, I'm not goofy in my own way, but I do, I do think, especially with a lot of the guests and stuff that I had, it's pretty dang interesting. So what I've learned is that you've got to show the goods, right? People want to learn, but you also, there's always a good story that you can tell. And a lot of my shows are places that are iconic, places that I've been in the past. I've been very fortunate that that Bassmaster and Major League Fishing have both allowed me to use historical footage for my shows. Cool. So you'll see a lot of that in there. I mean, in my show opening, and this is something that Sherry was adamant that we did. I mean, my show opening starts with Ray Scott announcing me coming into the Classic. I mean, awesome. That voice to me is iconic to bass fishing. And the other iconic voice is at the tail end of my opening, and that's Bob Cobb. And, I mean, so we're definitely showcasing history on my show, how we did it in the past. And there's highlights from past tournaments and stuff scattered through when we go to those kind of places. But it's also about how it is now, the technology we're using now with Mega Live and Mega 360 and, I mean, mapping and, fishing today it's way different than it was at the beginning of my career from technology standpoint. And you have to embrace that. So we've got, all of that blended in there, with the techniques and things like that, but also got some really cool guests. And I really try to tell a good story. And, not every show is the same because I do, like my very first guest, Mark Zona. I mean, it had to be that way. I got him started in television through, our mutual friendship. I introduced him to Jerry McInnes and said, man, this is a guy you ought to look at for, helping to host the Bassmasters. And 20 years later, he's got his own TV show. He's still doing it. I mean, Dave Mercer came along, and I mean, the best MC there ever was in the history of bass fishing is standing right, you're sitting right across from me right now. And, Davey Height there. I mean, you guys do an amazing job as a group, but, the brains of that whole operation for sure Mike McInnes doesn't get enough credit. Well, he finally did because he got inducted into the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame this year. But I mean, since the early days, Mike's creativity and ingenuity has brought bass fishing to where it is today from all the stuff that he's done behind the scenes that nobody will ever know about. So you know it, I know it, Zona knows it. A small inner group understands what it's taken, and then now everybody's doing it, whether it's Major League Fishing or the NPFL or Sunday streaming on NFL now. I mean, how would you ever imagine that we'd be watching the NFL on Netflix on Christmas Day? Times are changing for sure, but there's people that are real sharp that have changed the way that we all do things. And right now I'm producing a TV show, and it's on the Outdoor Channel, and we do social media, and we're doing YouTube and things like that. We're doing podcasts and stuff like that. So it's come a long ways, and I think fishing fans or fans of the sport are the real beneficiaries of everything that's going on. But man, can you imagine what it's going to be like 5 years from now? Even it's going to be even that much better. It just I just like what you put into your underwater, and that's the unknown world, right? Is like you don't see how the fish interact with the bait fish, and technology's allowed that to come to life, and it's time consuming. It's hard work. Think how many hours you spent in the water this year, and I haven't even seen all your stuff, but I mean, it's truly a look into a world that we haven't got to see. That's what live sonar did. It taught things that we didn't know. And, that's what I want to continue to be on the forefront. I mean, that's why we put the time, the effort, the resources, the money into the production to get, those drone shots and to show the sonar screenshots and to have that underwater. And, I learned a ton this year filming the VanDam Experience. And I think my show, the episodes that we have I've got some really good episodes. I've got some great guests, great storylines, but I can promise you that year 2 is going to even be better because we have learned so much more. I mean, you've done it a long time. I've always, like I say, I've filmed in the past, but it's always for somebody else where I come in, I do my deal. I got to work with the crew that's there. I do my job the best that I can. But now that I have, control over it, and Sherry's involved, from a producing standpoint and idea standpoint, we've got a really great group, people that are in the know that live it or around it. And, I'm really confident that year 1, hopefully everybody really likes it and enjoys it. But year 2, I've got a lot of great ideas for.
It's a weird process to go through, and I didn't even really think about it until I'm listening to you talk, but it has to be, much different scale, obviously, but like when a recording artist makes an album, it's one of the few things you take a bunch of time and you make, but then you just kind of hope people like it in the way that, because by this point, I would imagine episode 1, you have proof watched it way too many times that you almost can't even judge it from fresh eyes. And you're just, it's like buying a cool gift and hoping they like it when they open it, so to speak.
Yeah, there's no doubt. It's interesting. So Luke Bryan's a great friend of mine, and obviously, he's an unbelievable country artist. One of the top. He's got
pretty good
billion number ones. He's a television star on as one of the hosts of American Idol, and he's just incredibly driven. Always coming out with new songs, but he loves bass fishing more than anything else. He's an outdoors guy. He calls himself a redneck, and he grew up in the country, and but he loves bass fishing more than anything else out there. And I did a show with him. It'll be week 3, and I just really wanted to showcase his passion for bass fishing, what he's put into it, and all that. And over the years, now that I've become friends with him, and we go fishing. I brought him up here. We fished quite a few different places around, and same thing. Like he has debuted some of his songs to me, and like, man, you just like, I think it's going to be good, I mean, but you don't really know. And I'm like, when I listen to it, I'm like, oh my God, dude, that's going to be for sure. And, in most cases it ends up that way, but it takes a little time. But yeah, I mean, he has the same uh, anxiety and thought processes when they come out with a song that they think is going to be really good. When you and you just, it doesn't necessarily come out of the gate that way, but it's similar. You got to the music industry has changed immensely too. I mean, it used to be totally different. 20 years ago when you and I came up, and the same with the fishing industry. I mean, look how viewing fishing has changed. I remember waking up on Sunday morning looking forward to that TNN block of shows. There was no DVR. You had to be up. You had to watch them, and it was In Fisherman and Bill Dance and Hank Parker and Roland Martin and Jimmy Houston and the Bassmasters and Orlando Wilson. How about that name blast from the past? Yeah. Those were really special times because there was only one place, one destination. Now people, you can get everything you want right off your phone. I mean, you can watch 4 billion how-to YouTube videos and shows and things like that. But I still think the Outdoor Channel is the best destination for outdoor. I love to hunt. That. It's the best network out there that has the most, I think, high quality outdoor shows on it. And, this year to 2025 kicking off, I mean, Zona's on there, you're on there, I'm on there, in fish. There's, Carter Andrews that, they got Saltwater Day. They got Major League Fishing if you want to see competitive bass fishing. If you flip over, I mean, Fox is stepping up their coverage of the Bassmasters and all of that, but that's a total different thing. Live sports is one thing, but like what you and I are doing, Facts of Fishing and the VanDam Experience and, Zona's Awesome Fishing Show, that's a total different product completely. And, they're all three of our shows are extremely different, but I don't miss one of them. I love all of it.
Do you think, sometimes I think this, there's so much of it. I think it's the greatest thing that there's so much stuff you can absorb. I mean, this podcast is a prime example. There's just so many different elements of fishing you could absorb. But I also feel like there's, in some ways, there's a specialness that is kind of missing now in the way that, like, that feeling you got when you TNN, you couldn't, I mean, at one point people started to record them, obviously, but it wasn't as instantaneous as now. Now there's no viewing by appointment. People view whenever, but there is a specialness, I think. Like I look at bass, for an example. There's something special about, just getting a little bit of it. I mean, Christmas, we just had it. It's so special because it happens once a year. It's not like if you had Christmas every month, it wouldn't be near as special. And sometimes I wonder if, because I look back at those times and it was like you were part of a club. You know what I mean? Like you had to put effort in to make sure do you feel that, or do you think I'm just nuts?
No, I think that both you and I have a lot of nostalgia because we've been around it for a long time. But in this day and age of, people's time being very limited and, just everything being so instantaneous, and that you have to give the customer what they want.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if you're producing good quality content, people are going to find it and people are going to want to listen to it. And just like these podcasts, man, I'm as busy as most people. You are the same. I listen to these podcasts. That's all my boys do. They listen to podcasts and they watch stuff on YouTube. They don't watch regular television. They just don't. And I'm the same way now. When I'm driving, I listen. If I can't listen to a live NFL game or, live sporting event, I'm listening to podcasts now. And a year ago, I didn't listen to any. And so I've learned that. And it's the same with television. I'm recording everything. And I'll wake up early in the morning and just start binge watching it. Like that's the thing that's going to be hard is it's like once you do, 13 episodes, then it's like, gosh dang, man, I'd like 13 more, but it takes a lot to put into them that way. And we'll eventually, branch out and, start some YouTube series and things like that too. It gives you a little more flexibility. The television format, based on the model that it is, and with commercials and time slots and that, it is, you've got to produce the content to fit that box, right? And to me, it's still the best box. I love it. I'm a traditionalist. I know a lot of the fishing fans of it are too. They really look forward to that. Even if you're DVRing it, that just seeing that, those episodes. So we'll see, but you got to be flexible as well going forward. So, I love doing what I do. I love to, teach people. I think that through my career, especially in my early days in the Bassmasters and that, even though it wasn't streamed live, a lot of people gravitated towards me and my content, because I was doing well, but because I would also, tell people what I was doing. Where, Gary Klein, he's not saying a word, or Rick Clun, he's not talking to the fans at all. And I think a lot of these young guys now have really learned that when they're there, that, they're entertaining people. I mean, there's nothing worse. And live bass fishing has gotten a really negative rap for good reason lately, because all they're doing is watching the backside of somebody stare at a screen, casting the same bait with a spinning rod and not talking. But if you get somebody that's good at explaining what they're doing, and you show that what they're seeing on the screen and talking you through it, man, you can learn a ton that way. So that's pretty much up on the individual, so not everybody's going to be exciting to watch. So hopefully people enjoy the show, that we're putting out, and, we can keep doing it, because I sure like doing it. I mean, I've had such a blast this season, filming these shows, and we've got a great diversity of some cool guests and, solo shows that I do, where when on my solo shows, I'm basically really breaking it down, and there's a lot of instruction, a lot of good information there. And then on my guest shows, I really like to try to tell their stories. I think people will learn a lot from the show I did with Zona, even though that we've been around and been together and done a lot of stuff. How well we all know each other, but when you do my show, which you will, right? I hope.
Gladly.
When you do my show, people are going to learn things about Dave Mercer that they didn't know before too, because that's what I want to bring out. Yeah, it's fun to watch us catch fish, and we want to show people that and teach them, but they also, you got to make it entertaining in other ways. So, I've got a show with Luke Bryan. I've got a show with Frank Ragnow, who's the center of the Lions, which is going to be a really good show, because we were able to go to the Lions facility and do some other stuff around it. And, my Lions it's been the funnest year for me. Last year was good until the NFC Championship, right? But in my lifetime, and I've been a Lions fan, I mean, I truly, when I was maybe 6 or 7 years old, is when I remember starting to watch the Lions on Thanksgiving Day with my dad and uncles. It was just a tradition. And every year, that's what we go to meet for family, Thanksgiving, watch the Lions. And man, for 50 years, it's just there's not been a whole lot to cheer about. So I finally understand what you have been living these last handful of years as a Chiefs fan. That it's fun, and I'm having a blast. And you guys got the number one seed for the playoffs, which is huge, and we're right there too. So we'll see how it ends up. But I'm just enjoying every week of it, and I want them to win the Super Bowl, right? Just like you want the Chiefs to every year. But I'm going to be really happy as a fan either way. They're a fun team to watch, and it's enjoyable. So I'm looking forward to that one. Frank is such a great guy. He's such a passionate outdoorsman. And to be able to pull him out of his shell just a little bit, get people a little bit inside what the world of an NFL player is like, especially he's a 4 or 5-time Pro Bowler. Hopefully again this year. He's one of the best centers in the league. He's from Minnesota. He grew up hunting and fishing and loves to do it all. And, I mean, so much that when he got drafted in Detroit, he bought a house on Lake St. Clair, and he's got a multi-species ranger sitting there ready to go all the time, and he can be in the water in 30 seconds from his house because their schedule's limited. That's what he wants to do on his off days, and so that's cool. But we've got a great diversity of shows. I've got again some cool guests. Got a lot of people work in the works for the future. That's
Do you have a dream guest? Like if you could just.
I'll be honest with you. I got asked this the other day, and I'm fascinated by anybody who's really good at what they do. Like, and I think people respect me for what I've done in the sport. And I think that's why, some of these other people from other sports and things like that like to fish with me too, is just to kind of get a look into that world that they've only seen on TV. But I have been fortunate to fish with some, I've fished with both President Bushes. I've fished with a lot of cool athletes, guys that are really good at what they do. Donald Trump would be a guy that I would love to fish with because because it's fish, but to me, he's just fascinating to watch to see how his mind works. And, over the years, I've met a handful of people that a lot of people wouldn't even probably know or whatever, that are just incredible at business or, whatever their thing is. And it's really neat to talk to people like that. Like I went a couple of weeks ago, I got to go duck hunting with Chris Paradise, who's the COO from Aussie Oak, and Fred Zink Jr., who, he started his own call company. He's a world champion duck and goose caller. And he also is the one that founded AVNX, a decoy company. So in the waterfowl world, these guys are two of the best of the best. And to go and hunt with them for a couple of days and watch two of the best in the world do what they do, as somebody who likes to duck hunt and can appreciate it, it's mind-boggling. And I get to do that every year. They come and turkey hunt with me. They're the same way there. I mean, they just take it to a whole nother level. It's again, it's like watching anybody. It's like watching Greg Hackney flip, right? There's not many people that do it any better in the fishing world, or any angler that's super good at a technique or, their location or area of the country. It's pretty awesome. Same with Luke Bryan, to go to his shows, and I've been to a bunch of his shows, he just lights the stage up. You can tell, you can't fake that passion. You can't fake that true love for your job when it's not, it's not a job to him. I mean, we say this all the time. I mean, what I get to do for a living, I love it, man. I love it. I love tournament fishing. I love the competition. I love the brotherhood, the camaraderie. I love the guys. I love that, the competitors. And that's not normal in sports. I just have such a great respect for them. But, I love the overall game, and I love following it. I know too. I mean, I've seen you, like, the Bassmaster Classic week is the toughest. You got the toughest schedule of anybody in production that week, because you got to do the launch in the morning. You've got to do stuff all day long for the coverage. Then you got to do the weigh-in. Then you got to do the post stuff, and you got to get up and do it again the next day. I mean, it's the busiest week in bass fishing, but you're always up there. And when those guys come in, whether they had a good day or a bad day, I mean, you bring it all the time, and that doesn't happen without passion and without true love for it. I mean, if you were just there punching the clock and like, hey man, I'm just doing this to, get a paycheck, it shows, I mean, you put the time, the effort into it. I mean, you never needed to, like, why you're doing a TV show, you're commentating the Bassmasters. Well, why would I want to start this podcast? Right. Well, look where you're at now, man. You got, arguably the largest audience there is in the fishing industry for what you do. It's because you get up every week, try to find, you had to scrounge up me for guests this week, but you're getting great people telling great stories, and that's what people want to know. Again, watching somebody catch fish is fun, but it's the behind the scenes, stuff, that people want to see. And that's when we do the show. When you're on the VanDam Experience, we're going to catch fish. We're going to have a big time, but we're also going to let people a little look into who Dave Mercer is that they haven't seen. So get ready.
Oh, I can't wait. I look forward to it. And I'll tell you, when you were going through my classic week, and you know how uncomfortable I am with these kind of conversations, but there's one thing you said wrong. You said you got to do this, you got to do that. And I mean, maybe it was my wife because she's much smarter than me, but I learned a long time ago, I get to. I don't got to do takeoff. I get to. You know what I mean? Like this is, there's a freaking time that everybody who has a cool existence on this earth won't get to do these things. There's a time when I won't get to go backstage at the Bassmaster Classic. You know what I mean? And I think when people, I think that's a key to, we as humans all get into the, I got to do this. No, you get to do that. Because there's somebody in the world that would love to do that, and it's everything. I was about to ask you, of all the successful people you've spent time with, presidents, musicians, athletes, all sorts of stuff, is that the one thing they have in common? Is it passion? Like, what trait stands out?
It's for sure that. I mean, whether it's Johnny Morris, who's the founder of Bass Pro Shops, or Luke Bryan, or Martin Truex Jr., he's a NASCAR Cup champion. I mean, Frank Ragnow, who's Pro Bowl center for the Lions. I mean, they all love what they do, and you have to put the extra work in. You and I are both lucky because both of our wives are so supportive behind the scenes and actually genuinely care about helping us be successful. And my wife is constantly doing things to keep on track. Like, I mean, with the show itself and the flow and different things, like I'm like, oh man, this is going to be really good. Well, like my show opened with that Ray Scott piece.
Yeah.
And that was all her. She's like, no, we got to do this. And I called up Mike McInnes and said, hey man, this is something that I'm looking for. Do you have this archived? And, a day later, we had it in the inbox, some options to work with there. And, so I'm really, really grateful that, people understand that, because as successful as I was as a tournament fisherman, it's because of a lot of other people before me. And that's why I'm so involved in the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame. You go every year and MC the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame, and it's a nonprofit organization. I'm on the board. I volunteer my time because it's something that I truly believe in and have a passion to make sure that we're showcasing the history of our sport. And, that young anglers know who Bob Cobb and Ray Scott are and what they did, and Denny Brower and Guido Hibden and Hank Parker and Jimmy, and, on and on and on. And, to me, that's one of the most special nights that there is, to have so many of those people in there. And you volunteer your time every year and, come to do that, to make that event just next level special. And it doesn't go unnoticed. So, man, I thank you for that. But yeah, you're
being way too nice, Kevin. I'm very uncomfortable with this podcast.
Story. I mean, the bottom line is it's really easy to see when people love what they do, or they love the sport that we love. I mean, Martin Truex Jr. is a really good example. Like, That guy is, he had his final season in NASCAR this past year. He's a Cup champion. He's won a lot of races. He's a champion at multiple levels in race car driving, but he loves bass fishing as much as anything, and smallmouth bass fishing more than. And I mean, I've gone with him a bunch of times, and it's not about, he's not wanting to post it on social media or do anything like that. He just does it because he loves it. And when when you get him out there on the water, it really shines through. So that's just one of the things that I've seen. I mean, Johnny Morris is the same way. Gosh, I've taken him fishing a handful of times, and he is a giddy little kid when he's getting to experience things in the outdoor. And he has gone and, he's been all over the world and seen it and done it all. And, catching smallmouth bass in the Great Lakes is still arguably one of his most favorite things to do, most cherished things. So, and that it's fun for me to be able to help facilitate that, for people like that. So that's what I want to do, is get the bass fishing world, the sport that I love, the people that I know how special they are out there, to be able to have, some of these, famous people from other walks of life be able to experience what I've had and get that crossover. I mean, I really worked hard to try to get Deion Sanders in the boat this year. And I'm talking about a guy that is crazy busy, but I think he'd be a fun. I mean, I watched him his whole career.
Huge.
What he's doing now, he's doing great things for so many kids as a coach, but he's mentoring a lot of people across all, through his social media and things like that. But when you see him out there on the water, he's like a giddy little kid. And you can't fake that, I mean, and that's the kind of people that I want to have on the show, and just not watch them catch fish, but let people just get a peek into what they, who they know.
That's to me, that's the thing. That's the magic of fishing. That the tournaments are cool. There's so many things there's so many ways people fish, whether you saltwater fish, freshwater fish, fly fish, tournament fish, go to somewhere nobody's ever been. But to me, it's always like the amazing thing is you take the highest powered executive in your boat and they hook up, and all of a sudden they're a giddy little kid, it's all of us, you know what I mean? Like, I've been in Zona's pontoon boat with me, you, and Davey earlier this year, and we're catching not very large bass whatsoever, but it's
in the rain,
they're
in the rain, catching 10 to 14 inches and having a ball, So
yeah, it's cool. It's cool, and it's amazing that, and I think sometimes, and you, the most successful tournament angler in history. So whenever people talk to you, it's always about that. But at the base of it, I mean, from the first day anything I've ever witnessed in this industry, I remember the first time I was at an event that Al Linder was at. It was a tournament, and it was up in Kenora, KBI, and he was fishing it, and I saw him in pre-fish, and I'm like, that dude is like you see him on TV and you're like, well, maybe that's just a character, but like he loves the sport, loves fishing, like you have to have that. And I think you're right. You can't, I mean, because if it's fake, they will figure it out in a freaking heartbeat.
I really, I was really trying hard to get Al as a guest on my show this year. I've been a huge in-fisherman fan since the early days. I've, gotten to know all the Linders over the years. And Al, his real passion, I mean, obviously what they did in creating in-fishermen and showing the science of fishing and getting away from the bank. And I mean, they were groundbreaking in the day, but Al's real passion is smallmouth bass. I mean, he's really known as a northern angler and muskie and catfish and walleye and multi-species. And they go do some saltwater and do it all. But his real true passion is catching smallmouth bass. And I tried to get something lined up this year, and it just last minute didn't. He had a conflict come up, but that's a guest that I really want to get in 25 on there, because you know him and I know him, but there's a lot of people that don't know the whole Al Linder story, and I just love doing that. I want Bill Dance. He's one of my greatest friends. Bill has been so good to me and my boys over the years. I've known him for almost 30 years now. I mean, from the first time I met him, and I was so intimidated the first time I met him. He came to my brother's store for an appearance, and I was like, "Oh my God, it's Bill Dance," And but he's just so nice and down to earth, as you know. And as much as he's been on television, I still think there's some things that I'd like to show the world about, just because he's so special,
Yeah.
And you can say that about a lot of people, and that's the kind of guests that I'm really looking for is people that are amazing in their own right. And some of them are from going to be from the fishing industry. At the end of the day, we're going to teach people how to catch fish. We're going to show, we're going to show technology and new baits and tackle and things, because that's what we do. But we're also, there's some great stories that need to be shared.
Yeah. One of the coolest things that nobody on earth other than me and a camera person got to see, but when Bass went to Mille Lacs, you were competing in that tournament, and I somehow convinced Ron and Al Linder to be guests on Bass Live with me. And it was awesome being on Bass Live with them. But the most awesome thing was just like Ron Linder, I think it was you. We were watching. He's like, he's fishing the Red Door Run. I can't believe he figured out the Red Door Run. Like, he's just so, you know what I mean? This is a guy who you think you've seen everything, but just how passionate they are. It's really, it's why nobody leaves this sport. I mean, Bill Dance is in his 80s and started another show just a few years ago.
I know.
It's wild.
No, they don't. You can't. What we want to do on our day off is go fishing, right?
Yeah. What do you said at the beginning? This is a different season. Obviously, this is the first year of full tournament retirement. I mean, last year you had a few events you were still qualified to be part of, but this is the first flip of the calendar to a new year where you're not a tournament angler anymore. When Wayne Gretzky retired from hockey, I remember an interview, and he said they asked him what he's going to miss the most, and he said, and he really thought about it, and it's the weirdest answer, but I think it means a lot. He said the smell of the ice. There's a smell when I'm the first one on there. He says nobody's skated a fresh sheet of ice, and there's just a smell that I'm just going to always miss. Like, I'm never. Do you have any of those things?
Yeah, there's no doubt. So I'm a fan first, always have been, right? And tournament angler, I'm a fan of tournament bass fishing, and there's nothing like those first events of the new year, just that energy. So I'll definitely be watching, but I miss the people. I miss my buddies for sure, the competitors. We're a close knit group, and that'll change in time, because they'll all it's constantly. I mean, there's new players every year, right? But the guys that I've known and competed against for a long time, I'm definitely going to miss that. There's nothing like the blast off for the Bassmaster Classic on the first competition day, like that morning.
Yeah,
when you have your family there on the dock, getting ready to go, the excitement, the anticipation, the nerves. I don't care how many times you've done it. That never gets easy, and it never gets old. That's a really, really special feeling. A regular elite event. I've done it, so many times, or, Bass Pro Tour, whatever it is. I once the, clock starts ticking, you just go into game mode and go on. And that's kind of that way for the Classic too. But the Classic is it's always been super special. I mean, in the beginning days, it was even more intimate. You know, it was a small group of 40 anglers, and it's gotten bigger, and but it's still, you know, the Bassmaster Classic is still an unbelievably special electric event. I've been fortunate to be there every single year of my career, whether I'm competing or not, to be there to see that moment when the champion's crowned. And there's been a lot of special ones for sure. And you know, some are better than others, but there's, and you know, because you're the guy on the stage now, the electricity, uh, you know, I guess it's the same for the Super Bowl and other things, but I don't see how it could really get any better than that. You know, I mean, it's, uh, you know, even last year, you know, I was in the sponsor suite at that watching, you know, the Bassmaster Classic, and it's just like, you feel it, you see it in everybody's, you know, all the industry that's there, they know what it means. And we're lucky that Ray Scott had the vision in the beginning to build the Classic to what it was, and that our sport and our industry, our fans and our competitors still treat it that way. You know, it's really, it's a really special, it's a special feeling, and that'll never get old for me. And it's something that, you know, you know, I know I've talked to multiple other friends, and they're like, man, I gotta go work the Classic again or whatever, you know. And as a competitor, I never wanted to be in that outdoor show. I always wanted to be out there on the water. But I really love going to that expo just to see the energy and enthusiasm from our fan base. You know, I mean, our industry as a whole. I mean, everybody knows the meaning of what it is, and it's just a, you know, it's like you said, if Christmas was once a month, it wouldn't be the same. But Christmas only comes one time a year in the bass fishing world, and that weekend is really special. And you know, the Major League Fishing Red Crest is a championship event, and it's good. Like it's a big deal to win. The prize money for the anglers is a big deal, but the Classic is still the Classic, man. It's that history, the heritage. I think back to those days of Ray Scott and some of the things that he did. I mean, riding in on an elephant, coming in on a Harley, you know, I mean, he just was the ultimate.
He was the showman. Like he was.
So
here's one thing that blows me away about Ray Scott. Nobody talks about it. But if you want to realize the great showman that he was, so that famous footage, you were not part of this Classic, but you've seen that footage a bunch of times, that famous footage where they fly up and they're 30,000 feet in the air or whatever, and they're flying, and these anglers don't know where they're going. And Ray walks down the aisle of the plane, and he pulls out an envelope to announce where they're going. And I'm like, that moment there, he's not on a stage, but that moment proves the showman that he is. He didn't need a friggin' envelope. Ray Scott decided where you were going. He didn't need to pull it out, but that's the showman that he was. Really.
Yeah.
This whole industry has to be thankful for Ray Scott every single day.
Yeah. We need more of that, you know, I mean, and we got a lot of smart people out there that will do that. But yeah, so maybe you should come in riding on the back of an elephant in a trailer being pulled by a Harley onto the.
I'm all for it. I actually joked about the elephant once, but we didn't have the budget. I mean, I think the closest we could get is they could drag me in one of those, you know, when you leave like a grocery store and there's the elephant that little kids can ride. It's probably what they'll drag me in on one day. But
so here at our grocery stores, they have a little horse you can ride still for a penny. We'll get one of those up there. That'd be good too. But what would be better, you know, honestly, is, you know, February's coming. You know, if we are lucky enough to get there to that Super Bowl, I'd love to see Dave Mercer having to come in in a chariot being pulled by a lion wearing a lion's hat. Woo! How about that?
I don't like that.
I know you would. I know you would, but see, that's a fantasy of mine.
Listen, you know,
No,
if
dude,
some reason the Chiefs get eliminated, I mean, there's literally two teams that I would love to see win the Super Bowl: the Lions and the Bills. They're two teams who are fan bases that are overly deserving.
those Bills are dangerous, dude.
They're very dangerous, but so are them Chiefs.
Yeah. Well,
They
it's funny because so my boys have really gotten into football a lot, these last couple of years. And Nicholas is like, I can't believe Mercer's a Chiefs fan. I said that he lives so close to Buffalo. I can't believe he's not a Bills fan. Like he loves Lake Erie, and yeah, it is. Buffalo's a great city, man. By the way, I did a VanDam Experience show there this year in Buffalo, and God, man, that's a pretty special place to go. That skyline right there, and it's such good fishing right in front of there, and the river. I got a little history on that river too. Remember?
Yeah.
So that brought back a lot of great memories there. To go there, and the fishing, it's pretty special.
It is special, and Buffalo's a special. I mean, I had great friends in Buffalo. I mean, it's all Joe Montana's fault. That's why I became a Chiefs fan. I mean, I was like a lot of kids when you're from somewhere where there's not an NFL team. I mean, a lot of times you cheer for a team from wherever, and usually it's the team that's winning. So I was kind of like a 49ers fan, but more a Joe Montana fan. I followed him to Kansas City, and for a long, long time, it felt like I made a horrible decision. But thank God for St. Patrick. It has worked out pretty good the last few years. But no, playoffs are going to be fun. Hopefully me and you are.
All they do is win. Remember, we text back and forth, and Christmas Day was an impressive performance. I mean, like, I think people are like, "Oh man, they're just barely clicking it off." I mean, I think they almost know, they're so seasoned and so veterans, and they've been there that I'm not so sure that they haven't been just kind of coasting along on purpose, and they know because they're stepping it up this time of the year. I mean, Christmas Day was an impressive win.
And
a good team.
I think that's the part of the NFL that people way underestimate. I think Dan Campbell's a prime example of that too. Like you want to, and the Chiefs have been there for a number of years now, but I think you want to get by as best as you can get by, but you also want to keep stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you'll see you'll see it happen with the Lions. Some stuff that they've done earlier in the year, you don't see it again. Then all of a sudden, boom, it's back in the playoffs. So I think Andy Reid's a master, and he's trying to. I mean, you'd have to think that, but
I have learned more this year than ever. I never put as much emphasis into how important coaching is across. Not just the head coach is part of it, but the head coach has to have great coaches, staff, and they have to have just what that is in the NFL comparatively to what I thought of in the past. I thought way more about players and that, but and Frank has taught me that too. He's like, man, Dan Campbell's even better than
that team.
He's even better of a coach, and he's been around a decent amount now. He's played football his whole life, and he's been around a lot of coaches. But and you see that, and you can see that with other teams that have front offices and coaches that are dysfunctional, just because everybody's great, right?
Yeah.
Any week, any NFL team can win because their players are all great, and they got they play with a lot of pride, but coaching is the difference. I mean, you see that, Minnesota, Green Bay, the Bills, the Chiefs, the Steelers, and you see also where it's not at too. So, Sean McVay, I mean, gosh, what the Rams have done this year, with the way they were decimated. I'm glad we played them early in the year because I've always been a huge Stafford fan, and he's still one of the top quarterbacks in the league, and it really shows. So, but I was happy for him to win one Super Bowl, but I'm out now.
Yeah,
all lines. So,
well, it's going to be a fun playoffs. I can't wait to see it all go down. And it's the big thing for the Chiefs was getting that bye so they can rest now. And they had like a week 5 bye week early in the which.
Yeah, we were there. We were early too, and
It's tough.
It would be huge for the Lions too to get some players back, get people rested because everybody's beat up, man.
Yeah,
every week, every game, something's happening. So, yeah.
Let's get back to fishing.
Yep.
What's
Yeah,
your
we
most
talk football all the time, don't we?
Oh, we do. I don't think people want to listen to us talk about football. Actually, we'll find out in the comments.
Yeah. If you're a Chiefs fan or a Lions fan, maybe, but yeah.
There's a lot of people dislike the Chiefs. Everyone loves the Lions, so enjoy it because it's a short period of time. We were that team for a little while, and now they hate us already. But I've told you this story. I ran into a Patriots fan last year, and he came up and said, enjoy being hated. He said, I miss being hated so bad. What's your most rewarding day on the water? Tough question, obviously.
Yeah. My big thing in fishing is like figuring it out, like going out there because so often that's what I do. And even for really most of my shows, like I go to a place that I've been and I've got some history, whether it's a Gunnersville or Kissimmee Chain or, Texas, wherever. And we go to shoot a show and you got your crew there and all that. And, you want to put it together. But what the rewarding part for me is like, when you go out there, experiment around and figure it out and put it together and it happens. Like when just sometimes and it doesn't happen that, every single time. I had a couple shows this year where, in my eyes that we struggled, we really end up with a good show, but it just, for whatever the weather conditions or the timing, just it doesn't go the way you want. And then I had a few shows where it really, really came together, and that's really to me. That's been what I've loved in my tournament career. You notice Lola loves it too. She's barking her tail off. Every time the mailman comes or somebody, she's got to
doing her job. Letting you know
she's doing her job, but no, figuring out the puzzle. That's what it always was for me as a tournament angler. You go out and you put your practice days in and you get ready for the first day of competition. And, you think, but when you pull up there and I've had a lot of those days where it's a great day, out there on the water, pull up on a ledge at Kentucky Lake and just throttle them right out of the gate, but most times it doesn't happen like that. So when it happens a little later in the day after you start piecing it together, that's, I've always said this, catching them is not the fun part. It's figuring out how to catch them, how to trick them, how to make it happen. And then when it gets to that point, that's the rewarding part.
What's the greatest lesson in life that fishing's taught you?
I've had a lot of them. Like I've learned a lot of things over the years, but it's, I've got the saying, it's on the back of my truck. It's all about the attitude, and you go into, if you go into it with a positive attitude and, good thing, you have to truly believe. And I've seen it so many times where it doesn't look good and you got to keep telling yourself, and you can't manufacture that. You can't fake that. You have to truly, you got to truly believe it. And as I've gotten a little, more mature or wiser, older, whatever you want to call it, that's harder to do. It's harder to not be negative at times. I mean, things happen in the sport, changes, whatever, with, just a lot of things. It's hard to stay positive, but my wife is the one that's always, she's like, you need to get back on track. You need to, there's nothing you can do about that. And that's something that I've always said since day one. Worry about the variables that you can control, and put the ones that you can't out of your mind. I can't control the weather. I can't control if somebody's going to be on my starting spot when I show up on the tournament morning. I can't control, what somebody else is going to do, or, what Mother Nature is going to throw at you. So you just got to roll with it and make the most of it. And that's really what's helped me a lot through my tournament career. And even now I get uptight, man. I do. And my wife said, don't be bunchy. Don't be bunchy. I get nervous about stuff. I'm, just like with the launching the show. I mean, there's a lot of new things. There's a lot of different stuff that you have to do. And, if you do your job and do your homework and put the time in and be positive, it's all gonna, it's all gonna work out. I mean, nothing's perfect, and nothing really ever goes exactly as planned. But, if you prepared for it and you've got, a good attitude, you make it happen. And say that's what I'm hoping my Lions do, man. Same.
Well, they're a prime example. I mean, Dan Camp, we talked about pieces, and they've added a lot of the right pieces, and the Stafford trade was a big blockbuster for them. Did a lot of things, but ultimately everybody bought into what Dan Campbell said from that first press conference, where he made that iconic, we're gonna bite your kneecaps off, and we're never stopping. But that whole team, they will run through a wall for him. And it truly is believing, and it is all about the attitude. I mean, it's a simple thing. When you started using It's All About the Attitude, was that a message for others, or was that in some ways a message for yourself to remember?
Very much for me. Very much for me. And it was really Sherry that, started. I mean, you can't have a better cheering section fan supporter than she was through my, career, especially early on. I mean, always the positive person, always the one doing the things behind the scene so that I could maximize my time and effort on fishing. And she nobody knows, she doesn't want to be in the spotlight, hates to be on camera, doesn't, look for credit ever. And yet, and you see that with a lot of people, I mean, this is a tough business. And the job that I've had over my, last 35 years, there's a lot to it. It's a lot more than one person can handle. And truly now and today, it's way more than, I mean, I wish I had two more Sherrys, and so does she, right? Because it's just, there's a lot to go on, and there's always something that needs to be done, or there's always something that you can do to improve or be better. And, that's what we wake up every day trying to be, is a little bit better than the last time or the day before, or make, the next show or the next season, or, the next opportunity more successful, make it better.
What has to happen for you to deem this season a success?
I really hope that people enjoy the show. I want to, I've had fun doing it. I think I'm putting out what people will want to see. I mean, again, is every show going to be, the best for every person? No. It's not. It can't be. But we've got some really good ones in there. I mean, one of the shows that I did was a show I did at the Kissimmee Chain during practice for my last tournament that I fished, the Heavy Hitters event, which is a big fish format and all that. And I just, I was really, because I really focused on show mode at that point. It's a trip that, with the off days and the practice and the way that the round's set up, it's a 12-day trip, and I didn't want to give up 12 days without getting a show in. So I said, talked to Brandon and I said, what do you think about, could we get a show just filming during practice, just of how I break down a tournament? I said, it's the number one question I get asked by fans is, how do you break down a lake for a tournament? How do you break down a lake for a day of fishing? How do you, what's your process? What's your thought process? How do you look at it and all that? And he said, yeah, I think we could from a production standpoint could do it. And I talked to Sherry about it and she's like, no, I think that's a great idea. And you guys should do it, even if it takes a little extra. Well, once we got started into it, I could see right away that, like, I don't know how the heck you were going to edit it into one show. It really, it was eye-opening for me because it made me stop and look and think about the process that I've done. And it's, been very successful for me over my career to use the system that I use. It's seasonal pattern, time of the year, type of lake, all that. And, Florida's Florida because it's different, but, I want to do more of that kind of thing because at the end of the day, it is interesting to watch people reel in fish, but most viewers want more. And, I want to, like I said, give up the goods so that if you're a first-time bass fisherman, you're going to learn a lot from the VanDam experience. But if you've been fishing tournaments your whole life, been around it your whole life, you're still going to learn things from the VanDam experience every single week. We try to make sure that there's something for everybody there, and that, and I've learned a lot this year too. I mean, it's like, stuff that I take for granted, I think about now, and you try to express that and explain it in a way that people can turn around and use it, in their own, and for their own lake. And it doesn't matter if you're fishing in Florida or Canada or, Alabama or Texas or California, it all applies. And that's the unique thing about fishing compared to other sports that are just entertainment. Like, man, as much as I love football, I'm not getting out there and playing it anymore. I'm just not. Where anybody, any age, any gender, any, walk of life, they can enjoy and do enjoy and love fishing. So the numbers prove that. So whatever level you want to take it to, there's definitely going to be something there for you. And this year, VanDam Experience is 100% bass fishing. It is. I didn't fish for any other species. We didn't change it up. In the future, I definitely would like to do that. I mean, you see me do it on my social media or YouTube channel. We'll do some other things and fun things and stuff like that. Do some hunting, do a lot of cooking, but I just felt that I needed to focus on my core passion.
Yeah.
And what I've done for my whole career to kick this thing off, to get it started. And we'll go from there. I mean, I'm going to read the comments and look and see what people like. And I'm going to be my biggest critic as well. I definitely know there's things that we could do better from the shows we did this year. But all in all, I'm very curious to see, especially people like yourself and Zona that are in the business and that know it and have lived it a long time. I'd be very curious to see, what your criticisms are of it, or what you like or don't like of it, because we put a lot of thought and emphasis into it, and there's a lot of things, when you get done, say, man, I wish I would have maybe talked about that a little more in the interview, or to tie this in, or like, oh, maybe we should have focused on showing a few more different baits for underwater or things like that. But yeah, there's a good blend of all of it. I mean,
I think that's normal, though. You'll never be, I mean, in anything in life, I think you're always going to be like, I could have done. I mean, I know that from you. Like, I've watched you win tournaments and had you say afterwards, there's that one. Well, you still won, but you're still, you know what I mean? You always want to improve. If I don't think a lot of people.
No, everybody, everybody, has their own, standards and that. And I've, I'm trying to be humble, but I really set a high standard, for this. I told my crew, my team, these things. And that's one thing that I'm really, really proud of, because it's not easy. And I've got a lot of expense. We got a lot on the line to produce this show. And that's why I said there's definitely some anxiety, but my crew and my team, worked every bit as hard as I did every day. I mean, and there's plenty of times where to get the show, we were dark to dark,
Yeah.
and or you're there early and making sure, we're getting those sunrise shots and you're getting that sunset stuff, and you got to get this, supporting footage and the B-roll and, the slow-mo and all. And it's a lot to do it, but those little couple second clips of all that extra stuff, it matters in the final product, in the shows that I've watched, that I think are some of the best out there. And that's what we really wanted to do. And I know, like I said, year 2 will even be better because we've got a notebook now,
Yeah. Yeah. It, and I think it's even more important to have all that stuff. Like we talked in the beginning about how shows used to be able to watch on TNN. There was one day a week where you had these shows that would come out and you watch, but that was it. Now it's limitless. Like if they tune in and do not like what you're giving them, they got a bajillion other options that they can literally instantly move to.
So I love watching. One of the things that I think that Bass has done that's cool is they've shown some of the old Bassmaster shows. They put them back out there again, and I love, because I've watched them all from day one. Like as a kid, before I was even competing, I watched them, and then as I started fished my first BASS tournament in 1987. Right, so I watched those shows from then. Original Bob Cobb and Bo and Ella produced shows. And some of those shows that I thought were the greatest shows ever, you go back and watch them now and you go, my God, this production is not very good, but that was the technology and the gear and things that they didn't have drones and they didn't have underwater and they didn't have, close-up shots and no slow-mo or anything like that. So now, it's a lot easier. Technology's allowed us to tell a much better, more visually stimulating story out there. But I do love, one of my favorites all time was the Thousand Islands, Dusty Pines,
the rat. Yeah.
I competed in that tournament. I ended up doing pretty dang good, but gosh, that was some of the most incredible footage. And still to this day, topwater shows or frog shows they're the best, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the anticipation and the excitement. I love fishing it, and I love doing it. So I do got one of those in the can that for this year is a topwater frog show. So it was a fun one to do. Really good one.
Wonder where Dusty Pine is nowadays. That is a name made for you're either a NASCAR racer or a friggin' professional bass angler.
Yeah. It was that was a really fun event. I mean, of course, at the time you don't know what's going on or anything like that, and but to see that, like, then was mind-boggling. After because the show come out months after the tournament was over, but to watch it then, and I competed in it and I fished, and I'm like, it blew me away. It was like that's world-class stuff.
Yeah. And it's easy to be like, if you compare today's shows, but at that time they had literally, I mean, one of the amazing things that blows me away is Trip Weldon still to this day can recite the phone number he used to call, the Bassmaster info line. Basically, you would call it and it would give you the standings after each day's tournament. And he can still recite that number off the top of his head. And I'm like, in his lifetime, it's gone from that to, I mean, you just see everything. Like, it is just amazing how the sport has continued to grow.
Yeah. No, to go to an event now and just watch the production crew team get prepared for a day, because their day is way longer than the tournament anglers, really, because they're there early and they're there late, packing up gear, charging batteries, dumping footage, and to have that camera on their shoulder for a whole competition day. And they capture, whether it's forward facing sonar and they're staring at somebody's screen or the back of them, or it is one of those shows where they're, it's blueback herring lake where they're throwing top water, or they're fishing the upper Mississippi with a frog or something like that. I mean, what they capture, it's pretty dang. Those guys, the road crew, they do as great a job as anybody out there. I mean, because at the end of the day, if you don't get the shot, you don't get the shot, and they don't miss much. And I know that group real well. I mean, from it's a lot of people that you and I've known for a long time, and man, they take a lot of pride in what they do. And I never figured it out, but they get that same thrill as you and I do as the one holding the fishing rod.
Oh, I mean, yeah,
capturing that moment to them is kind of that. And I see that with my camera team as well. They're like, oh my God, wait till you see the slow-mo jump, or wait till you see the shot that I just got with the sun lined up right over your shoulder when you set, just whatever it is, that they know it too. And so when it all comes together, it's pretty rewarding for everybody. So I look forward to seeing what people think of what we got.
That's one of the coolest parts about making a show, is those moments. Like, and I'm forever with our group, like always, you should always try to push to get things better and better. But that feeling at night when you're like, hey, we're dumping footage, wait till you see this, wait till you see this moment, like that it's, to me, that you're still you're still chasing that same, you know what I mean? Whether you're trying to win a tournament or you're trying to get a shot that nobody's had, it's that same high of like seeing, conquering something or capturing something. It just, it's very cool.
Yeah, that's filled that void for me for sure.
What do you are you a New Year's resolution guy?
You know what? I have been in the past. This year, I didn't say anything. I've done crazy things, from a certain standpoints in the past, like, hey man, no cocktails for the month of January. I've dry January. I've done the, hey, I'm gonna start, running crazy, trying to get back in shape. But I want to do things that are long-term sustainable. And the biggest thing that I've learned from my wife, again, she's like I'm still like a little kid. She's still teaching, and is like, do things that you can improve yourself or help your kids or your family or people around you, that are, long-term changes that you can do. It doesn't have to be, climbing a mountain, but, always making steps in the right direction. And, there's a lot of things that I can think back on this past season and making this transition from a tournament angler into a television, host. We did a lot of things great, but there's things that, I can be a lot better. I can be a better boss. I can be a better husband. I can be a better father. I can be a better producer. I can be a better on-air talent. And that's the things that I really want to focus on. So I got a lot of little things that are really my resolutions going forward that aren't easy for me to be honest with you. And it's hard to change. You get easy to get set in your ways. It's easy to, I don't sleep in much, but it's easy to just kind of, take a break, but I'm not. So we'll come out of the gate pretty hot. I got a lot of planning to do. That's the biggest thing. Just like I said, how important coaching is in the NFL, planning and preparation, there's just no substitute for that. The one thing that I'll never control is Mother Nature. You gotta deal with that. And I got a full dose of that this year. Even trying to schedule around the weather and being a little bit flexible, you get burned a lot. You just do. And you just gotta to roll with that. But these variables that we can control, I'm gonna do a much better job of that and be a better person to be around and be better to the people around me.
I know you're a pretty good dude. You're a pretty good person to be around. I think the show's going to be incredibly successful. I know everybody does. It's one of the most highly anticipated outdoor shows that, I mean, in a very long time. I don't remember a new outdoor show having this kind of buzz around it. So everybody's excited to see it. If everything goes perfect, where is this show in 10 years?
You know, who knows? But I think that I would like to definitely, because you know, I want to expand into other things. I've got bucket list trips that I want to do as an angler. You know, I mean, things that places that I haven't been, places that I have been that I would like to, you know, be able to showcase for other people too. But at the end of the day, I also know that your core audience, you've got to, you know, definitely give your core audience, because they're you know, it's no different than to run a business. If you don't give your customers what you want or what they want, you're not going to be in business very long. So you got to give fans what they enjoy seeing, and you know, I think at the heart of that is people want to be entertained, but they also want to, you know, learn things that are going to help them for their own experiences when they're out on the water. And so doing some of those things instead of doing some fantasy, you know, destination crazy trip, I think people would enjoy a whole lot more of like shore fishing. You know, I grew up fishing ponds as a kid. I want to do more of that. Teach people. I mean, because there's great ways to go about it, and I mean, there's a lot that I think a lot of people can learn, and that's what's most accessible to most people. And just looking at everything out there now, at demographics, and looking at all of our different platforms that we're on, our social media and YouTube and things like that, looking at the age demographics, we have just as many young kids as I do people that are my age or older following and watching what we're doing. So that's what's accessible to most people. You know, not having a, you know, $100,000 bass boat and going to Toledo Bend and, you know, California Delta or Lake Gunnersville or, you know, Lake Erie, or like, you know, it's fishing where you can, you know, ride a bike to, or drive your car and park at a bridge, where you got an hour or two after work, or, you know, in the morning, or on Saturday morning before you've got the next chores that you got to do, where you just got a limited window, you know, to have those keep me, you know, for me, I know how valuable those times are, you know, to go out there and just get a couple of bites. You know, I mean, I'm right there right now. I'm like, man, I really want to get my boat out there and catch a bass in January. You know, I mean, before we get so locked up that we can't. You know, you don't get that opportunity that much. I mean, I launched my boat last year in February, and I've never done that in my life. We've never had that opportunity. And it was like February 4th or 5th, the first day I fished. And I watched this little lake that's a spring fed lake. I went there in the morning and it still had too much ice to get on. And I went back in the afternoon and the ramp was open and half the lake was froze. And we went out there and I caught 4 bass. And I mean, catching those bass was like when I was a kid again. I mean, just that exhilaration is there. So I think people, you know, want to see that. So you can't forget where you came from, and what matters to, you know, your customers, which are the fan base at the end of the day. And you got to be, you got to give them what they want. You know, I've always tried to be good to my fans, at every level. I'm so appreciative to have the opportunity to do what I love to do and be able to make a living at it. And so, you know, it's my duty to make sure that I give back to what matters to the masses.
Yeah.
You know?
And all those, I mean, I think Bass Pro does an incredible job with what they do. You know, it's that feeling that people get when they fish. Like you said, from shore, from whatever. Like, I think if anything, the tournament world could learn a thing or two about, like, it's not like, I mean, we could have a podcast where me and you argue about whether forward facing sonar is good, bad, or indifferent. But I think at the end of the day, people got to remember it. Like, we're giving a release to somebody's watching your show and they're getting a release from the real stresses in their life. They don't need to watch your show. And you know what I mean? Like, we're lucky that those moments are a norm. You know, you could,
it is. And Bass Pro Shops is a perfect example of that, because there is no other retail store that does what they do. I mean, it's an experience store. You go in there, you see the backdrop, the woodwork, the mounts, the aquarium, you get a feeling of like that you want to be outside. I want to fish. I want to hunt. I mean, one of the smartest things they ever did is Santa's Wonderland at Christmas, where families can bring their kids in there, get a free picture with Santa. They got those games that they can play, and it brings you back to memories of your childhood. So for your grandparents or your kids, everybody loves it, and it's they don't have to do that. I mean, and that's what I think that why malls and mall Santas and all that has really gone by the wayside, because they forgot where they came from and what it's about, and people want to, if they can't go out there and do it, have that feeling of being out there. And that's why we're out there at sunrise getting that shot, and we're getting that slow-mo, and we're showing that underwater and the fog rising, off it. And that it just, all of that gives you that feeling and brings back those memories of when you were there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see the VanDam Experience. I know a lot of people are excited to see it. And do you think once this show becomes a big success, people will stop asking you if you're coming back to compete in tournaments?
Yes, I get it all the time. By the thing that really gets me, and I don't know why, but it does, is like, how's retirement going? Oh my God, I've been truly, and it's probably a good thing. This past year, I've been busier than I really have been. I mean, fishing tournaments was a lot easier, believe it or not. The managing that schedule, but hopefully we can find a good balance. And I'm having fun at it, and that's the main thing. Is if you're not having fun and if you're not enjoying what you're doing, it's going to be hard to be successful. So I'm having a blast, and I hope everybody appreciates it as much as I've had fun doing it.
Always fun to catch up. Look forward to watching the show. And that's all I got. I think we're done, Kevin. I mean,
and love you, brother. I appreciate it very much.
Love you too. And I cannot wait to see. I know you've worked hard. I haven't seen any of it. Have you shown it to anyone?
I haven't, and I've kind of done it on purpose. I could send you a deal, but I think
I'm going to watch it on TV. It's different.
It's different to watch it on the big screen than it is on your phone or something like that. Not that it's wrong to do that, because a lot of people will end up watching it off their phones, but I just like,
hey, you don't tell people what's in the Christmas present, and you shouldn't release let's just stay tuned. I can't wait to see it. I'll put all the airtimes and everything in the description down below. The one and only Kevin VanDam.
Appreciate you, brother.
You too. Love you, dude.
There you have it. The one and only KVD. The VanDam Experience. Make sure to check it out. I will put the airtimes down below. Make sure to check out the new season of Facts of Fishing. And hey, it just dawned on me, with the way Christmas and New Year's Day both hit on a Wednesday, I'm supposed to be still off. This is the only week I take off, but I promised you guys that we would have a show, and dang it, we had a freaking show. So what I'm saying is, all those other podcasts, I mean, they're still off. I'm working for you. That should count for something. See you next week. Enjoy being. And as always, Bob Cobb, take it away.
Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. because Bob Cobb of the Bassmasters told you to. You hear?